Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
She is somebody who definitely brings comfort to our pets and especially our dogs. And that's through holistic healing, body work, some energy work as well. We're going to learn a lot today. And I like to think that I'm kind of up on the energy healing realm. I'm going to learn a lot from this lady right here. Melanie Amarosa is with us from Happiness for Dogs LLC. Welcome back, Melanie. How you doing?
Very well, Steve. How are you today?
I'm well, and I'm glad we're centering on energy today, because if anybody hasn't figured it out, we're all energy. Everything is energy. Even this piece of paper is energy. The chair you're sitting on is energy. Obviously, a different type of energy than we harness, but we're all energy. We're putting it out there, and so are our dogs, right?
Absolutely. And dogs are really good at picking up on our energy. And part of it, cats, all animals are good at picking up on energy, but the ones that we've domesticated and live with on a regular basis tend to come into our life to help us with that energetic burden that we're carrying. And one thing that's really neat is you'll see two major types of human-animal relationships. One is you take on an animal that has some of your same issues, for instance, personality traits, and they're there to mirror that stuff for us and help us look at it a little bit deeper and change and fix what's not working for us. The same way we want to try and change and fix a behavior that one of our animals has that doesn't quite work for us living in the home together. So they're kind of our growth sounding board. And they do that by mimicking some of the same issues that we have. Number one. Number two, sometimes they come to us as complete opposites. You might have a really outgoing, energetic dog that wants to be out there all the time and doing stuff, and a person who's maybe a little bit more of a hermit type personality, for instance, and they come into our life to sort of help us break that shell and start to experience the world and see the world in a slightly different way and to help us grow.
What you're saying, Melanie, sounds a lot like just humans in general, that we pick people based on our energy or our challenges, our issues, whatever it might be. Is it kind of the same thing when we pick our pets?
Very much so. So one of the theories is we get into soul groups. So you have souls on the other side that when they incarnate on this side, they decide to take certain roles to help each other. We have a role that we want to experience in this lifetime, and that's engineered so that we can have that experience and that growth and move on and sort of widen our repertoire of experiences, vibrational harmonies, all that kind of stuff. So animals are part of that soul group as well. Animals are our spirit guides as much as human figure spirit guides or angels or, fairies, and there's just a ton of entities. So anyway, that's part of it.
Can I ask you a question? Because you said reincarnate a second ago, and I have he's just getting out of the kitten stage. He's about almost a year old, 10 months. He reminds me so much of a very sweet cat that I had to put down back in 2019, and they were both orange tabbies, very mushy. I'm that way, and my daughter and I have him to the point where, and we started very early, that I walk up to the counter, he jumps up on the counter and I say, "Give me a kiss, Rocco." Comes over, he's giving you a little kiss. And it was very much like my other cat. Is there a chance that maybe
Absolutely. Absolutely.
hmm,
Um, my husband had an Afghan hound, for instance. He and his late wife had Afghan hounds since the 80s. Nefertiti is the third incarnation of their first Afghan hound.
hmm,
And so absolutely, they come back to us to help us with the next phase. They don't come back as exact carbon copies, and that's, some people get hooked on that thought of almost like cloning. And it's not that way, because every time they cross over, they evolve a little bit more. So when they come back to us, it's a new evolution of that basic soul, which
hmm.
is kind of neat. Um,
I can
and
see what you're saying. It's like almost the framework. And I got this kitten for reasons. Part of it was healing. And
yep,
then I got another one, like maybe a month or so ago, like 6 weeks. Um, and it didn't dawn on me until I was scrolling through some Facebook memories and pictures, and uh, I'm talking, this has got to be 10 years ago plus. I
hmm
had a gray tabby. It was actually my ex's. And I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm doing this all over again. I have the same, and the temperaments are pretty much the same of even of the two cats. It's
yep.
weird. I can't, and I'm not trying to look for something. I'm just observing. And I'm like, that's interesting. So you think there could be a connection to past cats?
Very much so. They
Wow.
come back to us multiple times, and you know, this life, past lives. As a matter of fact, I have one client, she's got horses, and I do energy work on her horses. And she's got this one gelding, and she's like, could you tell me which of my other horses comes back? Because I know there's something going on, but I
Mm.
don't know what. And one of her other mares, Molly, pops into Indy every once in a while to say hello and to connect with her, and then kind of pops back out again. So they can share the same space. Um, Penelope Smith has written some great books on this topic, and really heartwarming, sometimes really hard to hear, but still very sweet. And she talks about this phenomenon quite a bit. And it's really cool how life all works when you're open to it.
I say that all the time. And it's like if you're open to it and to see it, and I truly believe what you're saying because I didn't just get pets. I didn't just say, "Oh, I'm going to get a cat. Oh, I'm going to get another one." They're there for a reason. They were there for a reason. Things were going on,
Yeah.
and it was what was needed. Um,
Mhm.
so I could see, the past ones coming back saying, "Hey, you need some help? I'm here to help you out with that." So you do something called a Serenity Ceremony. What is that?
So Serenity Ceremony has to do with this very topic that we've just been talking about.
Okay.
Um, Animals are here to help us with our burdens. So they take on a lot of our emotional garbage and help us process through at times. The other thing that happens is as our animal companions start to age,
Mm,
um, we don't always handle it very well. We sometimes get very emotional. We start feeling guilty. We start feeling angry. We worry. All of this storm of emotions, we're grieving their loss before we actually lose them. All of these emotions are just swirling around in us, and our animals pick up on it, and they're already not feeling very well because because
mm,
they're coming to their end of their life.
right.
And so in thinking about, we lost one Afghan hound, in going through that process, having lost pets in the past, and then looking at some of my friends and how they looked at the whole process of letting go and grieving. And, you know, I wanted to find a way to sort of help smooth out that rough energy and to give everyone a space and just hold space to say, okay,
Hmm.
let's get back to the heart of our relationship, which is love. And so I created this Serenity Ceremony based on being with people in the final days and weeks of their animal passing and sort of help clear that space and give them a clear, guilt-free, anger-free, hopefully grief-free space to just connect in with that love again and start to prepare their body and do some chakra work to help them process grief and letting go.
It's almost as if you're facilitating the energy bridge to the other side, or the passing of the pet.
Yes, so I help hold that space for animal and human, and I do part of the ceremony is focused around the animal, clearing stuff that they don't need anymore, helping let it go, helping to enhance the chakras that help them transition smoothly, help working with the chakras to help the humans deal with grief and loss and regret and, you know, whatever else they're hanging on to that's just not beneficial. Animals don't view passing on the same way we do. And if you've nurtured a sick animal for quite a while, I've seen a lot of people feel guilty. They feel like they let their animal down. And they don't look at it that way. They're going back to source. They're going back to that energy pool and they're going to get reinvigorated. And even from there, they are still connected in with us. They still touch base with us on a regular basis. And so it's just trying to help soothe out all that non-beneficial stuff and just let it be the beautiful process that it can be.
Is it sort
Sad.
of like this for the animal that is soon going to pass? If we could get in their head and they could talk to us, would they be saying something like, come on, stop being all negative. It's all good. All right. So I'm in a little bit of pain, but I'm going to be all right. Come on, stop.
Very much. Yes. Yep. They embrace this next adventure that's coming their way.
Wow. Well, just like we talked about, we think my cats came back. So,
right.
you know, they have a purpose, and they're like, you know, the transition is like, wait a minute, that's not a bad thing if they could talk. I got things to do. It's all right. It's okay. I'm gonna miss you.
Right. And some choose to guide us from the other side and work with us from the other side. And some choose to come back and, you know, help us walk the physical plane again. So that is, and, you know, and you can ask for your animal to come back. And you can say, listen, you know, you are a 90-pound dog in your last life. I'm getting older. I can't lift a 90-pound dog when they start to have, you know, my next dog, for instance, I'll be older too. And I'm not going to be able to lift 90 pounds. So could you come back as a 35-pound dog? Because that I can still pick up, you know? So you can you can put in some requests.
Wow. You deal with animals. So I'm going to ask this question. Is it possible that a human came back or can come back as a pet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's this one story that Penelope Smith writes about real quick. It's a hamster that was passing. And she took it outside so that it could kind of run around and just experience nature, not in a cage, but experience this outdoor environment. And the critter went running around and she communicated with it, said, listen, you got to be quiet because there's predators out here. And the hamster's like, I'm having a great time. Well, sure enough, it goes off. It gets eaten by a raccoon that very night. Sounds horrible. She connects in with the hamster, and the hamster comes back and says, yeah, but I had a lot of fun. And that was the most beautiful creature I've ever seen. I'm coming back as a raccoon in my next life. So, so it wasn't the tragedy that when you first hear that story, like, oh my God, that's terrible. And then you hear the backside of it, you go, well, that's really cool. And it just really illustrates that they don't see death the same way that we do.
And you're not the first I've heard that from.
Yeah.
And people in your modalities, I've heard that before. Yeah, it's a whole different thing. So the Serenity Ceremony, you can do that virtually?
It can be done virtually. It can be done in person. It depends on what people are most comfortable with. And it can even be done with the animal in spirit. So once they've transitioned, I have some people that come to me and want to do a session on the 1-year anniversary of their pet passing.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a memorial too. And oddly enough, I had this one gal, and she still had a lot of guilt. She'd been carrying this burden around for a year. And she reached out to me. We got together. We did the Serenity Ceremony for her, and it helped her shed some of that baggage that she had been carrying all year long, feeling guilty about what she had done. So,
yeah, this is closure. This is in some regards.
Yeah.
Wow. It's an emotional time when you know that you don't have time with your pet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting teary-eyed right now just thinking about it. I mean, it's not easy, and that's why having someone there that can kind of help hold space and sort of help guide some of those emotions a little bit can be so beneficial for some people.
I totally get it. Because as we're talking, I got a visual of that cat on the table.
Yeah.
The last moments, and leading up to it, he was getting sick, and that's, quality of life and all of that. You have to put it together. But based on what you're saying, not all so bad. We view it that way. They don't view it that way.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And when we make that decision to euthanize, that is the point at which we make that decision. That is a loving decision for the animal. It's very hard for us to let go. But in all of the research that I've done and, the work that I've done with animals, I've never heard of a story or run into a story myself where an animal felt upset and said, you let me go too early. That has I've never come across it. Maybe there's a case out there, but again, all the research that I've been doing, all the books I've read on the subject, never heard a story.
What about the reverse of that? Should we, when an animal is somewhat suffering, should they be euthanized? What are your feelings?
Some choose to go naturally, and they, and others are grateful for the release. Their body is causing them a lot of pain. They're not mobile. They can't get up and go to the bathroom. And for so many years, and think about it from this context too. For so many years, we've like, oh, you got to go to the bathroom outside. You got to go, especially with dogs, and, you got to go outside, or you have to go in your litter box. And when they can't do that anymore, it is an issue for them. And so when they can no longer do for themselves the way they want to do, when they no longer have that quality of life, then it is a blessing to help them move through.
should you, and I think you've said this before, about talking to our animals. Should we always do it no matter what? If you got something to say, like last night, yeah, I have my dog every other week. And I try to, take him out. I'll take him out. I'm like, Tanner, go potty, Tanner, go potty. And I'm out there. It's like, but sometimes he doesn't go all the way. And then, I find piddle on the floor, and, I pass by it. I'm like, and, sometimes, it's some, and I clean it up.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't have rugs. So
Perfect.
very fortunate. But that said, so should I be saying something to him? Like, Tanner, I know you don't want to do that. I know that sometimes, I'm not around all the time to take you out. I try to get, back as soon as I can and everything. And sometimes these things happen. Should I be doing that? Should we be doing that? Those kind of conversations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And that leads me to another point, something that that I talk to people about when they're starting to have questions about their pet and how much longer are they going to be here. A life review. A life review is fantastic. And it's so good for both you and the animal. And what that is you just sit there and you just talk about all your happy memories with that dog or that cat or that horse or, parakeet, turtle, whatever you have. And you just kind of go through some of those memories and the fun ones, the ones where, man, you really had me ticked off that day. Remember when you did such and such? But it's a nice way to just honor the gifts that they've given us, is to go back and review all of those thoughts and memories with them.
And just in front of them?
Yeah, with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Just basically, just talking about the past, old school. Hey, remember the time that, those kind of things.
Yes. Yep.
Just do it randomly.
You can do it randomly. It's really nice to do at the end of their life too, because it helps you focus on the good stuff and kind of get your head out of that yucky spot.
True. Yeah. And you have those memories, because you don't want to be left thinking about the memories of what I just said before, the final moments and all of that. We have a few minutes left. I want to get into the energetic body.
Yeah.
And something we had talked about before we jumped on here today, the owl that hurts.
Yeah, the owl that hurts effect is what I refer to it. And anyone that has had someone come up to them, come up from behind them, for instance, and whap them on the back, on the shoulder or the back of the head, or your first reaction is, "Ow, that hurts." And then when you think about it for a second, you're like, well, it didn't really hurt, but it really irritated me or annoyed me or something. And that is that kind of that disruption to the energetic body that's around us. There are 4 major layers. You've got, they call the etheric double or the body double. You've got emotional, mental, spiritual. And so those are the 4 basic layers that kind of surround us and act as kind of a force field. And everything that comes into us gets processed through that. Be it physical touch, be it words, even thoughts and intentions. You can pick up on bad vibes from someone. And those can sort of leave pockmarks in our energy field and kind of icky spots that
lasting.
Yeah, it can hang around if you don't process it and let it go. It can kind of hang on and build up, and so clearing that energy field is important, and that's part of energy work, part of what you do in Reiki and aura cleansing and all of these other types of modalities, even crystals. This all comes to play and helps clear out that negative stuff that we hang on to that doesn't serve us.
And that could be what we're referring to here is past traumas, situations, things that people said to you, not just a physical thing, but I get what you're saying though, why somebody's like, hey, what are you doing? It didn't hurt, but perfectly clear that, it's almost as if when somebody says, get out of my space,
Yeah.
it's your energy space. I never thought of it in that way, that
Yeah.
you just penetrated the energy space and like, whoa, wait, hey, even though it didn't hurt, it was a disruption of your flow of energy when somebody
Yep.
taps you on the back.
Yeah. And not everything leaves a lasting remark, but those particularly harmful, hurtful things that we hang on to and don't let go of, that all stays in there.
Could this also be some of those? And we got just a moment left, but I just
Mhm.
thought of a question. I got to ask this question. Those things from on the human side, from our past, let's say our childhood, where something is stuck in your subconscious, and it's just the energy is there and it needs to be cleared out, right?
Yeah.
Um, does that also happen with animals?
Yes. Very much so.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
they carry that. Let's say you yelled at your dog or whatever, pooped on the floor, and just you had a bad day. You walked in, it was like, what? You explode, whatever it might be. Um, could that leave a lasting impression?
It depends on the severity of the emotion to me. If you're just, oh God, I can't believe you did that again. What the heck? Now I got to go clean it up. I'm going to be late. That's an irritation. But if you take it a step further and you're really shaming that dog and angry at that dog and
Yeah.
taking your negative pent up emotions out on the dog, that is, emotional and mental abuse basically at that point. And that's the stuff that really sticks.
In an energetic way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Um, it's a trauma,
It is.
but we don't think of it in that way of dogs and animals, that it's, yes, it made a lasting impression. They might look at you next time they do it like, sorry, but it's done, it potentially has done more to their energy and their.
Right. And sometimes we feel like, that the dog did this to us intentionally. They might not have been able to help it.
Of course. Absolutely.
So that is something that some people just look at it as the inconvenience to them first, and not, what are you going through? Is there an issue that I should be aware of? Is this, are you mad at me because I didn't bring leftovers home the other night? Or that I've been gone too long, or do you have a physical issue?
Right.
That's
I don't think they do it just because they want to do it. Some could be a little spiteful, let's say, whatever it might be, but usually not. Like you just said before, and it was crystal clear. Animal usually goes to the bathroom outside, and having an end of life challenge, now accidents happen inside. They don't want to be doing that. Their whole life has been outside going to the bathroom. So
they feel horrible about it. Horrible.
I have to tell you, Melanie, that you run deep. And I never realized that. We first started talking about, Melanie's a lady that does massages on dogs, and that's all
Yeah.
good. But yeah, layers deeper in terms of the emotions, the energy, and both sides for, the animal's person and the animal themselves.
Yeah.
How do we reach you? How do we connect with you?
So you can reach out to me at Happiness for Dogs, that's the number 4, LLC@gmail.com, or happinessfordogs.com is my website, and all of my contact information is there.
We have literally 15 seconds left, but I'm just going to say, last time we talked about Denise from Bangor, Maine checked in. She was looking for a practitioner in her area. And just wanted to say that if you can't find somebody and it's not something that can be done virtual, like the energy work, then they can reach out to you and you can help them out.
Absolutely. There are several associations that list practitioners, and I'd be happy to help.
Melanie, great talking with you.
Steve, thank you. It's been a blast.
Hey, I got to go home and talk to my dog. And my cats too. And I look forward to talking to you next time we get together.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.